Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Monday. It is me, your Wrestling Inc. managing editor, Nick Hausman, joined here as always by Michael Wiseman. And sorry for the late start here today. I had some tech issues on my end. It also looks like I set the start time for 11:55 or 10:55 p.m., not a.m. The tech all works the same. You're still watching us live, but I'm sorry that just looked weird on the stream. Anyway,
so we're actually 12 hours early, huh?
Boom. Yes. We are. This is, you know what? If anything, we're ahead of schedule here today. That is absolutely correct, Michael. 100%.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's the way to do it.
Love this guy over here making me, sound good. Like this is all intentional. That's really nice. Thank you, Michael.
Yes, of course. I look out for you, Nick. I got you.
What a day for me to be having a chaotic start to my moor here, so to speak, because holy hell, Michael, we have a lot of big wrestling news to talk about here this Monday.
We do.
Dude, lots of wrestling news to talk about here today.
It's a new era, man. It's a freaking new era. Let's freaking do this, dude.
A new day has dawned here in the world of pro wrestling and Wrestling Inc. Daily. If you're watching us live right now, I can see the comment section lively here. A lot of people talking about the tech issues and how the time was set wrong. But whatever, no more. We're past that. We are into fertile territory now. If you want to be a part of this show, go over there. Put your comment up wherever the comment is that you're at. If you're on Periscope or Twitter or YouTube, leave a comment. I'll pull your comment up over onto the show here, like a Headlock Heel here. SummerSlam was extremely predictable, but it was good. Great, wonderful. That's a thought. That's what we're doing here, people. We're making thoughts. We're doing punditry, So put your thoughts out there. We'll bring them into the show. Also, later on in the show, you're going to get to hear my conversation with former WWE champion Drew McIntyre this past Thursday. The reason we didn't have a Thursday show and we did the Raw preview with Paul Pratt, which was great, was because I was in Vegas at this WWE tryout camp. Got to talk to a lot of great superstars. I think got to be part of the only media scrum Triple H did this week. Notable, since he always does a pre and post takeover. Didn't do it this time.
It's like there's something different about this week's NXT. I wonder what that could be. We'll get to it here in a minute.
Why wouldn't he want my questions, Michael? Hunter, does Vince hate you? I don't think he wants that question, right? So, and I'm joshing if he's watching, right? I'm joking about
Triple H is tuning in at midnight tonight, Nick. We screwed up the time or he would be here, right?
Yeah. So, it was a busy weekend. I see Dave in here saying my boy Hausman had the first question to Punk in the media scrum. We'll get to that. It was a scrummy weekend for me. All right. It's very scrummy. We also that came across negative. I just wanted to make up a fun word. Whatever. I'm moving too fast here. I always do when I get thrown in the morning. We have this conversation later. I had it with Drew McIntyre at the WWE tryout camp in Vegas. So you're going to get to hear me and Drew. And if you want to watch this conversation, you want to watch me talk to the very tall Drew McIntyre, you could go over to the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. It is available right there now. And you can watch it that way. Also, at the end of the show for everybody, there were some big shows this past weekend. The mailbag today is going to be about which show you thought was the best. We're going to talk about them all here in a second. And I'll tease this as well, Michael. If you stick around to the end, you stick around for the mailbag, I have in my freezer a CM Punk ice cream bar in its packaging, uneaten. I'm going to open that ice cream bar up here at the end of the show, Michael. And I'm going to enjoy the CM Punk ice cream bar to end the Monday Daily here today.
That's both mean and exciting all at the same time. Like, that's a real kind of like a jerk move for those of us who don't live close to Chicago. But if there is a golden ticket inside that gets you an exclusive tour of CM Punk's house,
well,
then we're all going with you.
Fun fact, Michael. You know what? That's interesting. I've actually been to CM Punk's house, believe it or not. Like Punk used to come to my comedy shows. I used to do improv with Colt Cabana, and at the time, they were very good friends. And maybe this is good backstory before we get into all the Punk stuff. So I actually know Punk pretty well, right? I spent a lot of time with him. It was after whatever pay-per-view Punk fought Big Show at here in Chicago in like 2000. 13, maybe. That sounds right. Cabana took me to Punk's house. And get this, Michael, I did get a private tour of Punk's house from CM Punk. He showed me his home, right? It was okay, if anybody's interested, Punk's house is in a I don't want to say where it's at. All right. It's a very kind of cool part of town. All right. He lives over a very cool thing, and he has like several floors. The house is like pretty bare, largely actually, because he doesn't spend a lot of time there. He has like a whole bunch of cool like a slammy, some masks, some gear from WrestleMania, just like on a table. They're not even all like, and they're not even, and when I was there, maybe it's different now, they were all just kind of displayed, right? And so that was kind of cool. And I don't know that I've ever told this story on the air publicly, but since this is a CM Punk day, I why not? You know, I was going to write about it in the book anyway. So Punk takes me up to the top floor of his place, and the top floor of his place has a deck, a patio, all right, that bumps up to a train line in Chicago, okay? There was, again, when I was there, no railing between the deck and the train line, okay? And Punk asked me to stand there with him to wait for the next train to come by. And this dude and I stood there and freaking felt this train fly right in front of my face. And like, this man has the opportunity to do that all the time. Okay. That is how that, like, you know, because he doesn't do drugs. And I'll be real. And I don't want to say who else was there, but there were some other really cool people there. I'm a drinker. I drink beer. I smoke a little from time to time. I'm not exactly straight edge. So I had to sit there in this really cool moment and do nothing but eat pizza and drink Pepsi. And that felt really lame.
But that's how this man feels alive. He feels alive by standing there as this train, this brush with death, or I guess by returning to pro wrestling. So
yes, we felt this train fly by, and I was like, "Wow, this is like what a rush, right?" Wow. And that is just a thing that he does, and it was a night I will never ever forget. And I remember thinking to myself, like, "This was really cool, but you are not a pizza and Pepsi guy. You know, that's just not for you." Okay, so anyway, that was, you know, thank you for, you know, letting me remember those things there and bringing that story to everybody. We're going to talk a lot about Punk on the show. You know what? Let's get to it here. News you can use. News that'll leave a bruise. CM Punk is officially debuted in AEW. He debuted on Rampage this past Friday night. It was at the United Center. I was there. He opened the show. I will, for some context, I'm going to try to give as much context from my on-site experiences this week for these as possible. So before the show, there were 19, or before Rampage, there was 19 AEW dark matches. All right, 19. So there was like the best singles match, I think, of the entire show was QT Marshall versus Evil Uno. I kid you not. The crowd hated QT, loved Evil Uno. They had 10 minutes. They told a fun match. That was maybe my favorite match of the whole show, honestly. But then they ended like 15 minutes before the start of Rampage. They start to flip everything over, and it just gets quiet, right? Everything is like, you know, weird, and everybody's got this energy in the air, right? And then about 5 minutes before we go on the air, Tony Khan comes out, basically crying with joy about how, and he's cutting this promo to the fans about how your faith in us, it'll all be rewarded tonight. Jesus Christ has returned to cleanse us. He didn't say any of that, but it had a very
it was a little bit heavy for Tony Khan. It was generally not quite that religious speaking whenever he gets in front.
Yes, right. No, but it had a tone of like, you know, your sins are going to be cleansed here today, everybody. You know, anyway, so Tony came out very passionate, set the tone. Everybody's like, whoa. And now we're all sitting there saying, well, is he going to open the show? Is he going to close the show? Right. That's what he is talking about in the stands. Then they start playing that Alan Parsons Project song they play before the Bulls games, like down, down, down. And you're like, oh, this is on. This is happening right now, okay? And I looked at the guy next to me, Matty Ryan, by the way, from Capital Wrestling, who I got to enjoy the show with. Mike Johnson, too, and his son was who I was sitting with. All great people, wonderful company. And I looked at Matty and I was like, they're opening the show with this guy. Like, I don't know how you pull us all up to like hear if you're not going to do it right now, right? And so I'm sitting there and like I started recording right when they went live, and luckily was able to catch that, and that video is all over the internet now, like 200,000 something views, and it was really special. You know, I very rarely actually feel the building shake. I definitely felt like my feet, the ground under me trembling a bit. The only thing I can compare it to that I've been to live was the WrestleMania after Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker. I forget which WrestleMania it was, right?
Yep. That was Orlando, right? Where he retired. Was that 35? I think it was.
Okay. Yeah,
You're talking about the constant where he came out and said one thing and
he didn't say anything. He came out, right? And it was, because it was in Orlando. You're right. Yeah. And so, and I remember because they put me in the press booth, like way high up in the building, and he came out and like everybody, he didn't say anything. People were
He said
at the end,
we were there. Me and my wife were down.
You were there too.
Okay. I was there as well. Yes. And that was a fun WrestleMania to go to, but yeah, that was a weird Raw after Mania. He did say it at the end, but it was just the crowd just freaking ate him alive with news.
The way I remember, he didn't say anything until the end. At the end, he just goes, "This is my yard," drops the mic and leaves. And then it got like, but 10, you know what it was like, 10 straight minutes of just like crazy high energy. But that was a very negative energy, a rejection from the fans. Take that energy, Michael, and invert it and flip it into positivity. Wow. That is what I got last night or on Friday night at the United Center with Punk. It was a very, very crazy, surreal experience to just be there and watch it all play out and to be with Mike Johnson and all that. So it was great. And so anyway, Punk comes out. He opens the show with this promo. He basically makes it clear that he's going to be with AEW for the foreseeable future. So he's got a lot of time to talk. I'm back. I think he said I'm back like 4 times while shilling his shirt. He also took, the most blatant pot shot at WWE was that he had left a place that made him sick, right? And that was, I think, direct reference to the trial he had with Cabana versus Dr. Amon, the Z-Pack trial, where he actually physically became quite ill. Mentally, it doesn't seem like it was too good for him either. So he had to take some time away, 7-8 years, to clean his brain. Now he's back to pro wrestling. He invoked Ring of Honor as well, saying that's, kind of where his pro wrestling career died in 2005. Then he challenged Darby Allin, who was up in the rafters with Sting. And then he said, "You're all getting ice cream bars on the way out the door," which again, I will eat mine at the end of this show here today. So stick around. You will watch me eat my still frozen and wrapped CM Punk ice cream bar. I gave everybody my take about where it was like, Mike, I've done a lot of talking here. Give me your takes on this stuff, how you thought it came across, all of that stuff.
No, I loved it. Thank you for the story time, Nick. That's a great story on the train, but even better, I love the context setting there, because I do remember that Roman Reigns thing, negative energy, but one of the most visceral crowd, and I've been in my fair share of wrestling events in my life, visceral crowd reactions. I think strong crowd reactions I could opposite that with would be like when Sasha Banks and Bayley tore down the house at TakeOver one year in Brooklyn. But this not being in attendance, I was comparing this to I did watch SmackDown Friday night leading into this because it's a pro wrestling night. Why not? Had a friend come over. My wife was there. I'm a huge CM Punk fan.
Sure.
Never thought this would happen. So I was super jazzed. And we end SmackDown. AEW kicks off. And you could just tell, y'all were freaking ruckus in that building. Come across amazing on TV. But good. I applaud AEW with leading the show with the Punk thing, because it was just going to be there. It was going to be the elephant in the room no matter what. And they didn't even the announcers, I think, briefly teased it. They said, "Hey, on tonight's show, we're going to do blah, blah, blah." And then boom, the music hits. And from a production standpoint, watching it at TV, it's what AEW has learned to do so well. They gave us that hook, the emotional moment. They showed his face. We saw him crying. We saw him there. And then you soaked it in, man. You were like freaking it from my couch at home. I'm feeling this. I'm seeing his emotion. We're having this holy gospel moment right from my own living room. And they go to a commercial. So you're like feeling that, but you're still anticipating, what's he going to say? What does this mean? Is he really back? Is this some kind of tease? And I just think the promo, the time they gave him, it felt real and authentic in a way that pro wrestling has not felt in quite some time.
Yeah. I'm glad it translated on TV because, it was a packed house. I mean, there was no seat available. Immediately after the promo was done, about half the audience left to go to the merchandise stands, where I have heard crazy stories about like people buying 10 shirts at a time, being told you can only get 2 at a time, boxes being ripped open, shirts gone before they can even like make. I mean, I heard it was like war stories coming out of the United Center about getting those shirts on Friday night. And obviously, I think they set a pro wrestling tees record too as well. So,
well, and that's what's interesting because Rampage, like he took 25 minutes of the show was just him, which was great, and he cut an amazing. Everything he said was incredible. But after that, there were some good matches, pretty quick matches, but you could tell the energy was spent. We all spent it on CM Punk, or you all, I should say, in the building spent it on CM Punk that night.
Antonio Garcia here. I'll read a couple comments. Ice Cream Bar's highlight of the night. It was really cool. We also have here, this was from John and Perillo. It was awesome live on television. Pollo Del Mar, they had him open or the crowd would have shit on everything until he appeared. It was, it was interesting because as great as this was, it felt like you really just showed up for like those 15, 20 minutes, like the dark matches were like 2 hours of just kind of, dude, I was trying to tweet results as fast as those matches were happening. Right. And like for all of the goodwill and awesome vibes that CM Punk brought to AEW on Friday night, like, again, like I think the best singles match of the night was again, QT versus Evil Uno. There were a couple good tag matches, but really nothing on the show that like blew you away from an in-ring, and at least in my opinion. The
tag match, the qualifier for the tournament they're doing was great. But Nick, like all of that being said, there was this moment where CM Punk takes the microphone, and you're like, what are we getting here? We've not seen this. I mean, we saw him speak a couple of years ago at the All Out Starcast event, right?
Right.
But they're like, what are we going to get from this dude in the ring? What's he going to say? Is he still as sharp as he was? No discredit. Dude's been doing acting, not professional wrestling promos. And what I think was so incredible about all of this was it freaking delivered, man. Like not even just the moment of seeing Punk, but Punk out there cutting a promo and talking the way that he did and sitting down, the ice cream bars, everything about it. It was everything you wanted that moment to be as a pro wrestling fan. And so the rest of the show was great, but it felt like the main event was the main event that opened the show, right?
Yeah, and it was cool afterwards. Hearing Sting and Moxley and Darby and all those guys, cut promos in the ring and all that. But it really was to see a Punk show. And there were a couple things I thought Punk accomplished with the promo. First of all, great way to reintroduce himself to AEW in the pro wrestling universe. I thought that what he did was give permission to lapsed fans that were checking him out to come back to the party, right? If you were coming back and he had come out and just set up a match with Darby, or they had done something with MJF, or MJF cut him off, and it immediately became some kind of story, I don't think it would have landed as hard as what they did, because what Punk did is he talked directly to those people who, like him, had left pro wrestling and told them, look, yeah, here's the real deal. That place makes people sick. Fans sick, people sick, their minds get messed up, their body gets messed up. And if you are looking for this cure to the sickness, it's AEW. And for CM Punk to give AEW that I hate to compare it to the full full authorization, right? Full authorization today AEW got from CM Punk. This vaccine's going to work for the disease that is whatever Vince is doing, I guess, in Punk's mind. He gave those people permission, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that tuned in, and I think because of the way he cut that promo, I think a lot of them might stick around because of the way he did that promo.
I think you're right. I think the permission piece is important. I think also the way he talked so excitedly about what opportunities were still ahead of him, because pro wrestling can be a young man's game, and Punk is not old, but he is getting to the later part of his career if he's going to do this, right? But the excitement he had when he said, I want to wrestle Darby Allin. We got guys in the back, and he named, I want to see them in the back. He's kind of telling fans, you might not know these names, but they matter to me, and so they should matter to you if you are a lapsed fan. And I think it was just a great call out.
You're right. And on top of the other business, you're right. Immediately trying to get over new talent, right?
First thing he said was Britt Baker. That's the first person he gave a shout out to.
I don't know why that caught me off guard, but I was like, okay, wow. At least he's watching the product or the stuff on TV at least. Yeah, he put over a lot of people. It was what it needed to be, and I thought everything on TV came across great. So then after the show, we get the media scrum presser, virtual media scrum, I think is what they called it. It was just Punk and Tony the whole time. Tony looked like a little kid who got the last green Power Ranger before Christmas, and nobody else had one. That's a real old joke for some of you guys out there. White Ranger was harder to get the year after that. Anyway, but he looked like a pig in shit, right? He was just tickled pink and so happy to have this thing that he gets to play with now called CM Punk. And Punk took a few questions. Now, I did get the first question. He asked us not to be rude. I don't know what that means. But you know, I wanted to try to get into the details now that the whole kind of where you're here, what's going on. I want to know about his contract. How long can we expect to see this guy there? How often can we see him performing? He told me that he said that he didn't know if I wanted to know how the sausage is made. And I feel like, well, I want to know how the sausage is made, Punk. I wouldn't have asked you, how do you make your sausage unless I wanted to know what's in that sausage and how that sausage is made, right? So
he's very, I mean, on the run sheet, you'll get to in a second. He's very protective, though, about the business and what kind of goes into contracts and people's personal lives. You can tell this man was very, rightfully so, scarred by a lot of the things that happened in his previous pro wrestling run when it came to personal revelations about wrestlers' lives.
And I thought it was interesting, too, before he even took my question, and they say, the first question will come from Nick Hausman with Wrestling Inc. He goes, I need to check to see if I've blocked any of these people. And it's like, come on, dude. I covered your trial. I didn't like cause a mistrial. I nearly did, but whatever. Let's talk about it. You know, anyway, that's a story for another day. I got a lot of Punk stories. But anyway, ribbed me, made it. I'm not blocked, by the way. Punk does not have me blocked.
He has a few people blocked, though. It's worth saying. A few of them out there.
He does. He has had issues with the wrestling press. So anyway, didn't really want to answer my question. But he did give some other details as the call went along. A couple highlights here. He, like I said, didn't want to comment on the length of his deal. He did note that he's open to walking through the forbidden door, so to speak. Said it's a little early to talk about that, but hey, if Tony and AEW want him to go work at the G1, we'll have that conversation, right? Which I think immediately sent message boards into a fury. The other big one, like you mentioned there, Brody Lee, the passing of Brody, how the AEW locker room was able to keep the details around whatever was going on with Brody private for the sake of the family of Brody. He said he thought that showed a lot of AEW's character, and that went a long way with him wanting to maybe do something with them. And then, of course, I think the one that grabbed people a lot too, props to Bix and Span. He asked a question that I think Punk would probably say was rude. I think this is the exact question Punk didn't want asked. Punk has obviously had some issues with people backstage in the past. The Hardys, right? Who could forget the Hardys and Punk? They're on and off, but Matt was there. Of course, I've heard Jericho and him have had some issues over some, I'm told, some things Jericho may have said that upset Punk during his trial. But then the elephant in the room is Colt Cabana. And, you know, we don't really know what happened with Colt and Punk. Like I said, I spent years around these guys where they were tight. I watched them in their little shorts ride bicycles together through Wicker Park, right? You know, very, very good friends. Whatever happened, whether it was money, whether it was promises, whether it was something completely different, these two men do not like each other anymore. And that is not a secret. And Bix asked if Punk had been able to smooth things over with people in the AEW locker room he's had issues with in the past. And Punk said that he had no issues with anyone that was backstage tonight. I had no issues with anyone that was backstage tonight. Well, Cabana was down at the gathering of the Juggalos, wrestling the Weed Man. So he wasn't backstage. Jericho, I don't think, was backstage, or we'd have probably seen him at the show. It is gonna, the other side of this is gonna be Punk, the cult of personality that is Punk, right? And how dropping a piranha, like an alpha like that, into what has been a very seemingly harmonious kind of locker room area, it'll be interesting. You know, I'm just interested to find out what happens with him and Colt. Is he going to run Colt out of the locker room? Is he not going to want to be in the same room as Colt? Right? Is Colt going to have to be somewhere else when Punk, are you going to have to make those conditions? I mean, and you look back at, like, we talked about Brody Lee and his passing. You go back and you watch the Brody Lee episode they did at Dynamite. Who was Colt Cabana teaming with there? The Young Bucks, right? Yep. How do the Young Bucks feel about maybe somebody they're really good friends with, and they're EVPs, but Tony's listening to Punk and Tony's the boss and Punk's got all this sway. I mean, the politics just changed a lot, in the locker room.
Well, there were a lot of rumors early on that Punk was concerned. You heard about the original pitches they made to Punk to get him to join AEW. Rumors came out he was concerned about the dynamics between the EVPs and what the locker room condition would be like. So it sounded like early on he himself was concerned about that, but he does add an extra layer and dynamic to that. What I will say is, at a certain point, it doesn't excuse bad behavior on anybody's part, but this is also a business. And we know that this has already proved to be a pretty good business move for Tony Khan and AEW in general. How it will play out in the long term is yet to be seen, but just in the short term, rumors for a massive rating Friday night from AEW. I don't have numbers on that. Don't know if they've been released yet, but some early numbers kind of have been trickling out here and there, rumor wise, that it could be a big night for Rampage, which would be awesome. 24 hours, most sold merchandise, TV, t-shirt, whatever in Pro Wrestling Tees history. That's massive. The amount of social media hype and YouTube viewership around this moment proves that, don't know how it works out on the Excel spreadsheet, but probably a pretty smart business move for Tony Khan in getting fans to look at AEW and consider his product differently moving forward. So hard to argue with. Maybe he doesn't who knows? Maybe there's still some issues with him and certain wrestlers, but does he get a little bit more play because he is a big draw and a big fish? I know AEW fans are protective of the ones that brought them to the dance. Guys that have been around since day one, since All In 3 years ago, that got this whole thing rolling, right? And I respect that. But also, business is business. And if this helps AEW take that next step up, some people are inevitably going to get lost in the fray. It's just, there are too many heads on this roster.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it'll be interesting here to see how the politics, the backstage news we start to see coming out of this thing here. I mean, it's all very positive. I mean, there's so much positivity coming out of this. It's hard to say that there's bad, but just calling balls and strikes here as I see them, right? Sure. There were some home runs and there's a couple maybe, singles or foul balls here too. So we'll find out. I think we kind of hit all the bases on the Punk stuff. I will say, before we get to SummerSlam and TakeOver, the Observer saying that there could be a major new acquisition heading to WWE besides Punk and Bryan. It was teased maybe Ric Flair, but there was also an update the Observer gave about Bray Wyatt. His signing with AEW is not a done deal at this point, as his 90-day non-compete with WWE is still active. But the Wyatt AEW situation was described as one similar to Malachi Black signing, where at this point they haven't put pen to paper or anything like that, but it's pretty strongly expected by those in the know that Bray will be AEW bound. So we have Punk, we have Bryan, we have Bray, we have Ruby Soho. We got some big debuts to go here. A lot of momentum, maybe even another big name that we'll get to here when we start talking TakeOver. But a lot of momentum swinging WWE's or AEW's way right now, it would seem, Michael.
I think so. And I think they're prepared for it too. You look at, the Young Bucks in the middle of a great title run, Kenny Omega, they're telling the story right now with the EVPs. And I almost wonder if it's to get that out of the system as this influx of new talent comes in, right? Everybody loves the Bucks who have followed them for years, came to AEW for them and Omega. But you start talking about Bray Wyatt and Malachi Black and CM Punk and potentially other NXT cast-offs that could be coming their way. Who knows the contract status of certain guys who wrestled last night, right? All of those things, they're going to be new faces out there. And I think this shift is happening at the perfect time. A casual fan tunes in who maybe has lapsed or knew a little bit about WWE, sees a guy they recognize from across the pond being used better here in AEW. You're hooking some people in here. So it is an on-fire time. AEW is pulling the right triggers at the right time, assuming COVID doesn't derail some of those plans.
Yes, assuming, knock on wood. So WWE, there was that report that don't expect WWE to have some kind of big counter to Punk coming back at AEW Rampage. Well, I don't know. Kind of seems like they fired a couple bullets off at WWE SummerSlam.
We don't pay attention to the competition. We never look over there. We have blinders on like a racehorse. We have the racehorse blinders on.
So in the main event of SummerSlam, Roman Reigns defeated John Cena. He retained the WWE Universal Championship. Post-match, Brock Lesnar made his return with his new little, ponytail mohawk look that he's got going. So afterwards they do the stare down. Roman Reigns leaves the ring with Heyman to a chorus of boos, which was really kind of a cool moment there. I like that Roman didn't give people the physical contact there with Brock. So the Observer's saying here that the original plan for Reigns and Lesnar was for WrestleMania, and it was going to be the main event in 2023. However, Reigns and Lesnar is now being fast-tracked to possibly this year, most likely at Survivor Series or Crown Jewel. WWE officially announced they would be going back to Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel in October. So before we get into the post-show shenanigans here, how do you feel about Roman's win, Brock's return, and the thought that this match could be happening here in the not-too-distant future?
I was a little bit burnt out by the end of Saturday Night Show. It went a little bit longer than I think most people expected, and some questionable calls we'll get to here in a minute about the creative side of things. But it seems like most people thought Roman Cena delivered, so that's good, right?
Yeah,
it seems like they paid off that story.
Right.
I thought the Brock thing was underwhelming. I mean, we heard the music pop, and we saw him come out there, and I like the new look for Brock Lesnar. It changes it up some for us, right? But it did not feel like, listen, I see Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar stare each other down, and I feel like, didn't we just see this last year and the year before? And we've seen this play. The dynamic is different. I think the wrinkle of Paul Heyman is interesting. But if they're building a long-term story between these two until until Survivor Series, I'm very concerned, Nick, because, listen, CM Punk came out Friday night, did his thing. He's like, hey, I'm going to be back on Wednesday night on Dynamite and the following Friday, and I'm going to be here at All Out in a month to wrestle my first match. There is something lined up for fans to tune into, and the momentum keeps going. The story evolves at every juncture. You look at Sunday, if we don't see Brock Lesnar on SmackDown on Friday, they're going to have this lapse in this story. John Cena, Roman Reigns, they continue that every week for a month, and it felt like it culminated at just the right time. If we're building a story between these two for 3 months, I'm concerned that fans are going to tune out to this because we've already seen it before.
It depends on the story, right? Paul's a very compelling character in all this. You have the Usos in the wings and, whatever else may be. It does just feel to me like, well, first of all, Pollo Tomar, thank you for tuning in, Paul. They want it on Crown Jewel. The Saudis want big names, right? It does feel like this is going to be the Crown Jewel main event because Vince, I think, probably sees more value in Crown Jewel than Survivor Series at this point. Could be wrong, but I just think that's probably the case. So I think you're going to see it in Saudi Arabia. And you know what? If they're going to do it now, which I really don't have an issue with, because I think you can tell a good story with Paul, I want to see Roman beat Brock, right? If the end game here is to get him to The Rock, maybe at WrestleMania 2023, having him beat Cena, having him beat Brock Lesnar before getting to Big Bad Boss, true head of the table, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I'm for it. My worry is because it's Saudi and the Saudis want big things to happen, they're just gonna give Brock the belt to say they did it, right? And that is my concern, Michael, and I'm just being real.
You got to let it play out, Nick. You got to let the story play out. There's the money in the chase and all the other generic tweet backs you get there. Roman has been undefeated for over a year now, and he has been the hottest thing on that brand. You want to see somebody conquer Roman for sure, but from an interesting storytelling standpoint, Brock Lesnar is not the interesting guy to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's, we'll see where they go with it. I hope that they have Roman beat Brock wherever it may be, on American soil, on Saudi soil, whatever. But my gut says because when you go to Saudi, things happen. Weird things happen. And I
not
have
always good weird things either.
Weird things happen in Saudi Arabia. And I worry for Roman Reigns' title reign if this thing goes down in Saudi. So after the match, John Cena, he stumbles, or after the show, Roman Reigns is left. Brock Lesnar's in the ring. John Cena, he stumbles back into the ring. And this is after the show has gone off the air, and Brock Lesnar went back in the ring as well and decided to attack John Cena, delivered a few German suplexes, and an F5 to leave Cena lane. Now, you're wondering maybe, like I was, why didn't they show this on the pay-per-view? That sounds dope. I want to watch Brock Lesnar ragdoll John Cena. Well, it does sound like, according to PW Insider, WWE officials moving forward with the understanding that Cena will not be available for them for this foreseeable future due to Hollywood commitments. There's no timeline for him to come back. He is still scheduled for the September 10th SmackDown at MSG, but likely he's just going to do a dark match. He's advertised a team with the Mysterios up against Reigns and the Usos. So the reason they probably didn't show this on pay-per-view is it was probably just something for the fans because they don't have any plans right now to do Brock Cena, you know?
Yeah, well, and you want to send him away, but also it feels like they're positioning Brock as kind of the good guy coming into this feud with Roman Reigns. And so Brock Lesnar squashing John Cena on pay-per-view makes him feel like the bad guy in a way they probably don't want. Just my guess.
So there was this other weird story that I don't know if it ties into John or not, but I feel like I got to bring it up here. So Nikki Bella went on Instagram. She revealed she wasn't allowed to attend SummerSlam at the Allegiant Stadium. She posted a few pictures of her from inside a bar at the Park MGM Resort in Las Vegas. She tweeted, "When you're not allowed to go to SummerSlam in Vegas, LOL." She didn't specify the reason as to why she wasn't allowed to go, quote unquote. But, you know, I guess people are going to, I mean, John's there. She can't be, I don't know. That's where my brain could be horribly wrong. I don't know.
We fill in the gaps with what knowledge we have. That's what we do as human beings with our brains.
Yeah. So Nikki was not allowed to go, which seems weird because earlier in the week she was like, help me pick an outfit. So it would seem that the offer had been extended, and this maybe sounds like it happened last second. You know, the other thing I thought, and again, we don't know. Daniel Bryan headed to AEW, it would sound. His wife, Brie, you know, what's her and Nikki's contract? If they were ambassadors under Legends deals, I would think there wouldn't be an issue with her at least coming to an event, right? What do the Bellas look like? Did they hear maybe the Bellas could be wanting to do something else? I don't know.
Nikki was around for the red carpet afterwards and some of the other things going on that weekend. So she was still involved in some capacity with WWE, but yeah, just a little suspicious there. One of the all-timers from the women's division is not allowed to attend their biggest show of the summer.
Dave in, Nikki Bella, Hall of Fame, not allowed to attend. Sad. Very sad.
I wonder if Drew Carey could get in though. He's a Hall of Famer. Would he be allowed to come to SummerSlam?
Drew Carey would get the red carpet. He'd be sitting in Vince's office. Vince would be sitting next to Drew Carey like Tony Khan sits next to CM Punk. He's just like, look, it's Drew Carey, the Price is Right guy. You know,
we got some big plans for you, pal. We're gonna have this monster Kane come out, choke slam you.
Yeah, and wait, Eric Roberts, you're saying, isn't Laurinaitis married to their mom? Sounds like it's some BS or a work. Yeah, could very well just be a work as well. Like something could have happened. Maybe she just got bored, wanted to go wander to a bar, create some attention. Who the hell knows? So, all right. Well, let's finish talking about the title matches, the men's title matches. We'll get another bigger turn. Bobby Lashley, he retained over Goldberg. Goldberg lost because his knee got injured. He couldn't continue. MVP whacked his knee at one point. I guess maybe they'll use that. The excuse. So after the match, Lashley goes after Goldberg with this chair until Goldberg's sophomore in high school son. I don't know his name. Do you know his name?
No, I don't. He's still that little 10-year-old kid from 5 years ago to me, though.
Okay, Goldberg's son. I don't know his name. Let's call him Gunner. Looks like a gunner. Jumped Lashley from behind. Lashley then flips this child over, throws him in a pretty stiff-looking master lock, ragdolls him, leaves him lane. It results in maybe my favorite moment in SummerSlam, which is MVP trying to explain why Lashley attacked a child.
Listen, only pro wrestlers get in the ring. You know this, Nick. If a fan gets in the ring, that's what happens to them. The locker room goes after them. So that kid got what he deserved.
Okay, his name is Gage Goldberg. And, you know, honestly,
Silverberg better. Can we do Silverberg, Platinumberg?
Gage, I said Gunner. You know, I was pretty close. But I just keep saying all these people tweeting or posting comment, Gage Goldberg. I was like, are we going to see Nick Gage Goldberg? Because does anybody want to see that match?
The worst part is this was supposed to be a bad thing. We all cheered this guy beating up a kid. The fans loved it. They hate kids.
The Hurt Lock, right? I can't believe you called a full Nelson a master lock. I'm sorry, it's not a master lock. It's a Hurt Lock now. So I was wrong. apologize. Doom Tribe T, his name is not Hook, right? That is a different person. Anyway, this is definitely to keep some heat on this program because we're going to see more. Like, okay, flash forward here. Next thing, Sasha Banks, not at SummerSlam. Now, we announced this before the show. We found out that she wasn't going to be at SummerSlam, right? But most people didn't know. Can you imagine how pissed off you have to be if, like, you plunk down money just for Sasha and Bianca? You're sitting there, you got your popcorn, your little soda pop, ready to watch it. And all of a sudden they say Sasha Banks is not going to be here. Bait and switch at its absolute finest. Am I wrong?
Dude, the one part about it too is, I mean, these were you all reported this Thursday, Friday it came
Something
out, and Friday night they were still advertising it and showing the video package. Saturday before the match, they showed a promo package for this damn match and then announced it. Like, how bad is it? It felt like, okay, we're doing this now. So let me just put these two together here. We have Goldberg, who everybody's excited to see, comes out looking a little bit beat up. Like, he did not look like he was in prime shape.
Ginger, right? Yeah, walking gingerly to the ring. I agree with that. Yes.
Was not in prime shape. He gets beat up and made to look like he's even in worse shape after that knee thing. He gets, basically the match is ended. It isn't finished. It is ended because the guy can't keep going on. And then we get another title match that is advertised and doesn't deliver at all. What is this show?
Well, I honestly, like, if they were trying to turn Bobby Lashley babyface, they did a hell of a job. People were very, very into Bobby Lashley destroying Goldberg there. And I think they wanted to see him kill Gage too, right? I think people were kind of like, yeah. So that happened. So then, Sasha's not there. Fightful saying she wasn't cleared for action, but they're hopeful she'll be back soon. PW Insider, the situation with Banks being out of action, not an injury issue. I mean, you can read kind of, I think, in between the lines, if you'd like. It's about as obvious as CM Punk's Rampage debut. So anyway, Carmella, she gets announced as Bianca Belair's new opponent. And if you were looking to kill off the character of Carmella, I think that this was a great way to do it, man. I mean, just the fans rejecting Carmella in a not fun way, in my opinion. I thought there was no reason to do this. I mean, then Carmella's out there. You're about to get her and Bianca. Becky's music hits. She comes out, big pop. She throws Carmella out of the ring. Carmella, like, totally does nothing to, like,
just falls out of the ring. She is just tossed, literally out with the garbage.
Leaves. I thought that Carmella got buried here. I don't know. I mean, why didn't you just say Sasha can't be here, but tonight facing Bianca Belair, boom, oh, right?
It's more of a surprise, pal, if we have them come out with one person. They're expecting Sasha Banks, the internet dirt sheet. They overcomplicate this to make it more exciting, and then they take away our excitement and they bury somebody as a result. Listen, and then this report today, Becky is out there and now she's going to be a heel. She's your most... You look at, I don't want to compare everything to CM Punk. It's something special, something unique, something different. But sometimes straightforward storytelling makes the most sense. CM Punk challenged Darby Allin to a match in the middle of a hot debut. Fans are stoked for it. That was it. There was no need to overcomplicate that work. But instead, these extra layers, they're not storytelling layers. They're just complexity layers, right?
Yeah. So then Becky comes out. She beats Bianca in like seconds with this pump handle slam. She becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion. I've seen everybody all over that decision. Nikki Bella told Scott Fishman, I think, I think Nikki told Scott Fishman, I don't know when Scott did this interview with her or not, but like that it disappointed her to see a talent like Bianca get just laid. Oh, I mean, look, Becky looks great. Carmella looked like crap, in my opinion. Bianca was tossed to the side here very quickly. Is this how you're building up women on a thin SmackDown division right now? I'm glad Becky's back, I guess, but I didn't really enjoy how exactly we got there, Michael.
People are telling us to wait for it. They're going to pay the story off. She's going to get her win back and wherever else. The problem with it, y'all, is that This was their biggest show of the summer, their second biggest show of the year, technically, but maybe because of COVID, their biggest show of the year right now. And you had this magical star-making moment back in March with her and Sasha Banks, maybe it was April, delivering this incredible, and what really felt like WWE being aware that needed to make some non-white women stars. And it worked. You had Bianca Belair and everybody gravitated towards that. I get it that this gets heat on Becky, but it's getting the wrong kind of heat. There was no reason that you couldn't have had Bianca get some offense in, but to the majority of fans who tuned in, heard about Bianca 6 months ago, they're seeing her in this big show. She immediately gets squashed like that. It makes her look real bad, unfortunately.
Okay, so then PW Insider reporting here that the new SmackDown Women's Champion, Becky Lynch, is going to be positioned as a top heel on SmackDown. The report noted that Lynch is going to feud with Bianca Belair, who she defeated for the title at Saturday's SummerSlam. Dude, what? How are you going to make... I mean, can you do it? Sure, anything is possible. But why? Like, fans want to love a Becky Lynch return right now. And I'll say this too. Like, SmackDown's going to get Roman, Brock, and Becky. And they're like, hey, Raw, you get more Goldberg. Right? Like, you're just going to get more. That's how we're going to offset this. Charlotte Flair defeated Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley to become the new women's champion. Tomorrow night on Raw, inserting Becky Lynch as a babyface to go up against Charlotte seemed like a surefire way to give Raw something interesting. And in their women's division, no less. The fact they have decided to put Becky on SmackDown and turn her heel is the way opposite direction that I would have run away from this situation, Michael.
And it's like they miss the writing on the wall sometimes for the sake of themselves. I don't get it. And Charlotte's fine. She's great. Charlotte's going to go down as one of the all-time greats, right? But it feels like what they do is whenever they're worried, whenever they're backed into a corner, they have some things they default to. You saw it Saturday night. We default to Brock Lesnar. We default to Becky Lynch and Charlotte. We default to some of these things that we've done a ton of. Randy Orton gets a win. We got to make sure we put him out there. And you can just look at the checklist of things and realize they have one mode of delivering their storytelling, and that's what they're going to do time and time again. And just, it boggles the mind. Listen, there's a lot of things going on with these shows. I am convinced right now, you've got some young guns like Bianca Belair, who got squashed Saturday night. Big E wrestled on the pre-show. Jesus Christ. Come on now. Okay. How do you do this? Now, I believe fantasy booking here, they're going to swap some things up come draft time. I believe we might see Bianca switch brands, which could be interesting. I believe we might see Big E carry that Money in the Bank briefcase over to Raw and cash it in on Bobby Lashley or Goldberg. We'll see, but that could help. But it feels stagnant going into Raw tonight, doesn't it? It just feels like the same old again.
Dude, but that's why I'm saying. It's like you had a chance to create a real hook for that product last night. Tuck Graff saying Vince couldn't get Roman over as a face. He turns him heel and success. So he's thinking maybe the same for Becky. That's Vince. I don't know that that's true or not. I do think it is crazy to me that Roman and Becky are going to be your top champions over on SmackDown compared to Lashley and Charlotte, who are no disservice to Lashley and Charlotte, just not on the level of Becky and Roman right now. Like, if you're NBC Universal, how do you look past that, right? And I would imagine, like, yeah, you're going to have two. I guess if they're going to push her as a heel, like, another top heel champion over on SmackDown, not that it's weird or wrong or anything. We
also don't know. We also don't. I mean, sometimes this is gut decision making. Let's turn them. Let's create some intrigue. Fans won't expect it. We also don't know what conversations the TV partners are having behind the scenes. Speculating, rumor, and innuendo, no idea, no basis for this, but maybe they wanted Becky. Maybe that's part of the deal is they get Brock. There are lots of things that can come into play, but it doesn't mean that you go this route with the storytelling to make it happen either.
Yeah, and, Jackson Darkness Gaming here saying maybe Becky wanted to travel with Seth on SmackDown, so she's there, and that's a very good point. They have a baby together. That works, sure. I don't know. And on the note of Seth, though, he did get beat by Edge last night. Probably one of the best matches of the weekend. Seth, neither of these guys gets hurt by a loss in this situation. Edge probably needed it more to keep him viable here for a little while longer. But a really good match. I thought really, really solid bout between these two.
Great storytelling leading up to it. I mean, they kind of did their own thing with the Brood stuff, and I like that on Friday night, but I especially like the entrance on Saturday. Edge came to play. Seth Rollins put his all into this persona, this feud. I love it. I think that Seth Rollins has kind of taken a lot of losses this year on big stages. Cesaro early in the year made Cesaro for a hot minute. Edge, we got to do something different with Seth Rollins moving forward to kind of change it up for him, I feel like. But that's nitpicking. Great match, great storytelling. I'm happy to see Edge get a big win.
Seth is always better when he's down and out and crazy and desperate. And, we're going to see more of that from him here. I thought it was just really good bout. I get the booking. I really had no issues with that. Randy Orton and Riddle, they beat AJ and Omos to become the new Raw Tag Champions. That was kind of a no-brainer. Nice way to start the show. Damian Priest, he beat Sheamus, new U.S. champion. More gold switching hands at SummerSlam for Raw. The title changes at SummerSlam. What I liked is like a lot of this stuff kind of felt like it at SummerSlam felt like the end of stories, right? Like I felt like they were in many cases rolling out with new stuff to try to wet your whistle, but a lot more compelling stuff on the SmackDown side than Raw.
Sheamus looked great. I always want to give a shout out to Sheamus because I think he's an undersung hero in that company. He had a good match with Damian Priest, but Sheamus is a veteran in every sense of the word. Love it.
And lastly, we had Drew beat Jinder, no surprise there, but Alexa defeated Eva Marie post-match. Dewdrop rubbed it in Eva's face and wore her, robe, pranced around the ring, announced that she was the loser of the match. I was watching SummerSlam with Liz yesterday because I had to call Warrior Wrestling on Saturday night, and she really liked Dewdrop. And anytime like a wrestler stands out to Liz, my girlfriend, and gets the girlfriend rub, I'm like, maybe they're doing something right here. I am hearing from more people they really are like. Liz was like, oh, that girl needs to punch Eva right in the face. She saw those slaps. She was so pissed off about it, So wasn't
unique character, but unique persona. Let's get some new ones out there. Nick, what was Liz's reaction to the Miz and Morrison what was it, the Soaker 5000 segment? Like, we have a show that's going 30, 45 minutes over what you told fans who want to watch maybe the boxing match afterwards, right? Huge boxing match in Las Vegas Saturday night. And we take 20 minutes to do this weird ass soak 'em down segment. And we don't have this in the run sheet at the same time that the Allegiant Arena, or not the Allegiant Arena, but the, the arena where, the Allegiant Stadium. Yeah. The Allegiant Stadium. The pay systems were down. People couldn't buy concessions for a hot minute. Like all this randomness happened.
Oh, really?
I heard that they made it right by giving away some of the drinks and food that they already prepared. But like, there was a time, from what I understand, that like people couldn't buy drinks, people couldn't buy food, payment systems. And I don't think it was just the Allegiant Stadium where this was happening, but yeah, like people were kind of pissed from what I understand and what I was hearing from people in the stadium.
Shady T, God, the Miz Morrison dripstick gimmick is one of the dumbest things I've seen in a long time. I thought this was, I don't know why they did this. Like, it was just dumb for the sake of being dumb. I'm happy Xavier Woods got to live his best Scott Hall life, but there was really nothing else for me here with this one. I thought it was everybody just looks stupid.
I give the talent credit here because they made the most of a kind of a mediocre segment. All of them did. They're all super talented. John Morrison, Miz, Xavier Woods, all put in their best effort. But it's just, we can't get rid of this comedy crap on these shows, guys. Come on.
All right. We're going to look here at TakeOver. Then you're going to hear from Drew McIntyre at the end. We're going to dive in the mailbag. And I'm going to eat my CM Punk ice cream bar that is in its wrapper in my freezer, unopened. I'm going to eat that to close the show here today. So stick around, people. I know we're going past the top of the hour here. We won't have too much longer to go, but the ice cream bar will happen here to close the show. All right. NXT TakeOver. We have a new champion. Samoa Joe beat Karrion Kross, become the champion. Is the first man to become a 3-time NXT champion. What do you think of the main event? Seems obvious, right?
Yeah, you're moving forward with Karrion Kross going to the main roster. Samoa Joe can be a veteran for the young guns coming in here. Yeah, absolutely.
Kyle O'Reilly defeated Adam Cole 2 out of 3 falls. PW Insider saying TakeOver 36 was Cole's final appearance on the NXT brand. It'll be interesting to note that the report mentioned this was Cole's final NXT appearance. Remains to be seen if he's going to stay with the company for a call-up to Raw or SmackDown. But immediately after his loss, AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, changed their Twitter bio with a link to a YouTube video, the most infamous seances in history. Cole was, of course, killed off in the BTE storylines. PW Insider saying as of Sunday morning, Cole had not signed a new WWE contract past the contract extension he inked in early July to continue working for the company through SummerSlam weekend. It was noted that Cole's last WWE contract is set to expire very soon. And since he's an NXT talent, I think would only have a 30-day non-compete. But on top of Bryan, Punk, Bray, it looks like Adam Cole could also be AEW bound as well.
Here's the deal. This came out yesterday about the interview Ariel Helwani did with Nick Khan about the changes coming to NXT and the brand as a whole. And Nick Khan said in this interview, we're making some major change. We already knew this. We heard the rumors last week, right? But he confirmed this. We're working with Triple H. We're bringing in more athletes. We're bringing in our style of guys so we can train them up from the ground up. It very much sounds like WWE does not want independent wrestlers anymore. They want highly competitive athletes they can mold into pro wrestlers. If you're Adam Cole, why would you stay with WWE when you hear that report coming out?
Dude, so yeah, we're going to play the Scrum audio tomorrow from the Triple H thing from the tryout camp. But one of the first things he says in his opening comments, 90% of the athletes here today have never stepped foot in a pro wrestling ring. I'm so happy to get to see them grow right in front of our eyes. And so my question to Hunter, spoiler alert, we've heard about changes in the direction of NXT. Are you now going after less independent wrestlers and more athletes that you can mold to create superstars, which resulted in Hunter kind of puffing up a bit? And first of all, I knew from the moment I said the word changes, that's the trigger word. And I knew it was, and, really I'm sure didn't like that report, but, talking about how it's, we see people come in. I'm looking for the it factor. If you come in here and you're an independent wrestler guy and you run the ropes, well, great. You should be able to run the ropes. You're an independent wrestler. If you're somebody who's not an indie wrestler, you come in here, I'm trying to see something different from you. How do you work? Whatever. Bottom line is you hit the nail on the head, Michael. That is a brand right now. That is a developmental territory that has now taken 12 years steps back. Right. They are going right back to the early days of developmental, which resulted in guys like Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns came out of that era.
Sure.
I think he was the only one of that, and even he came from a wrestling family.
Right. Well, Seth Rollins was independent, but yeah, you had a lot of guys pass through from that time that are still not with the company. Mojo Rawley maybe would have been one that came from that era. So, yeah. But here's the thing: Adam Cole, why would he sign when he hears all of that buzz? Bigger picture for me though, because I don't want to make it all negative about NXT. We got 2 more matches to get to. This is a hell of a show. If this was the swan song of what NXT is today, then by God, it freaking delivered, man. Like, this show was incredible last night.
Yeah. By the way, we had Rob Humphrey here correctly correcting me. If Adam Cole, he shouldn't have a non-compete. Adam Cole shouldn't because his deal would expire, which is true. So if his deal expires in a couple days, he could show up on, if it expires tomorrow, he could show up on Dynamite Wednesday, hypothetically, I guess. So anyway, we also got last night at TakeOver, Cameron Grimes defeating LA Knight to become the new $1 million champion. I really liked how Ted put over Cameron Grimes really, really big last night. I thought Grimes looked great.
Grimes looked great, and a big win for him. LA Knight obviously looks like a star. Grimes doesn't have that same look, but he came across like a star because of this win. The question you have to ask yourself, talking about NXT changes, does Grimes fit into the mold of who NXT is moving forward? That yet to be seen, I guess.
Well, and of course, the last match we'll get to here before Drew, and then we'll dive in the mailbag. Dave and Walter Drag, match of the weekend, easy. We have Hushberger, Ela versus Walter, match of the year so far. Eric Roberts. Oh, no, wait. Nope, never mind. We have Eric Roberts. Dragunov is money. What a match. Holy crap. Yeah, dude. Ela Dragunov defeated Walter, become the new NXT UK champion after an 800-day run by Walter. Really brutal, hard-hitting bout. Dragunov looked like he'd gone to war afterwards with the bright red chest and the chopped-up eyebrow. What a win. What a match.
There's a world in where, we talk about WWE not paying any attention to the competition, and CM Punk debuts on Friday night when it felt like this big kind of momentum shift and big impact moment. This match from NXT last night for the UK Championship was good enough, and the story was well told enough, and the crowning moment for Dragunov impressive enough that if they had built the story up and put it on the main roster and then had that damn match at SummerSlam, that would have been your counterpunch. Look, we built a new star here tonight with Dragunov conquering Walter after an 800-day reign. It was a great match. The style of match was very NXT and not main roster, worth checking out. But God, that's what NXT is to me, and I'm going to miss the hell out of stuff like this in the future.
Hey, we'll see where it goes. All right. Well, Michael, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me here at the top of the day, looking at all this huge news in the past 3 days. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. We've got a little bit more to go here. Keep going with the comments. Again, I'm going to eat CM Punk's ice cream bar at the end of the show here in just a couple minutes. I have it in the wrapper in my freezer. We're going to go home with that here today. What a cap to this show. So my question on the mailbag today. Also, thank you, Drew McIntyre. Wonderful conversation. What a tall, awesome man he is. At Wink Daily, WINC Daily. That's the account to follow. We are at 1,192 followers. Holy shit. You could be number 1,200. That's an actual milestone. I usually say that's my favorite number, but that's a damn good number. Go follow us at Wink Daily. That's a good one to follow. Okay. Rock and roll. We put some followers up on the board here this weekend. Wonderful. Okay, so what was the best pro wrestling show of this past weekend? Was it Rampage, SummerSlam, or Takeover, or was it something else? Almost 1,000 votes here in the past hour. 55.6% of fans said Rampage. 21.9% said Takeover. 21.6% said SummerSlam, and only 0.9% something else. What do you think was the best show of this past weekend?
I mean, moment of the weekend was CM Punk's return in my mind, but
Correct.
Top to bottom, Rampage was a fine show. It was an amazing 20 minutes followed by a fine show afterwards. Takeover, top to bottom, 2.5. It was the exact kind of pay-per-view I want. It is the exact kind of pay-per-view NXT delivers on. And I think it's one of the best pay-per-views we've seen from that brand in quite some time, and WWE as a whole in quite some time.
You know, I feel like I am in the minority here. And first of all, the only tweet I'll read from the responses on our Twitter account was from @RMM Rampage best segment, Takeover best show. All right. I think that's the sentiment of a lot of people. I actually thought SummerSlam was more enjoyable than Takeover. I mean, how do you have a better match than Edge Seth Rollins? I know and Walter had a really banger bout and put him on the map, but Edge Rollins is a match that really went out and over-delivered. I thought the women's triple threat match was fantastic, right? And like Charlotte coming out on top, I was really happy with that. How do you beat a historic moment like John Cena and Roman Reigns in this era, right? Even as badly as the Becky Lynch, return came across, in my opinion, especially if they're going the heel route, that was a big moment. Like Brock Lesnar came back at SummerSlam. Like there were big, fun things that happened at SummerSlam. Rampage was about that 20 minutes with CM Punk. Yep. Takeover was a very good show. I thought SummerSlam over-delivered. I really did. I thought that Priest and Sheamus had a great match. These were people in their prime with a lot of experience going out and putting on I really thought a really good show at SummerSlam.
I buy the argument. I think there were too many misses for me to consider that whole show great. SummerSlam went big in some times and it did deliver. But I'm going to stick with NXT, end of an era, literally, and end of Undisputed Era. It's just a special show. Special show.
Jonas Tiger, SummerSlam was Summer Scam. A Summer Scam.
It's good stuff.
Bob Humphrey, SummerSlam was too long, too predictable. I had too many down moments for me. Okay, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Greg and John, SummerSlam was good. Jonas Tiger, yes. Edge Rollins was good. Doom Tribe T, I hated SummerSlam other than the main event, Welsh Andy T, I guess, saying, what SummerSlam were you watching? The same one, right? Hushberger, I agree with Wiseman.
Everybody, pro wrestling, baby. We can all love different things, and it's okay. We don't have to hate one another over it. Nick, I'm glad you think SummerSlam was the best show of the weekend. I appreciate you and your opinion.
Dellin here. Thank you, Nick. Dellin13. Thank you, Nick. Finally, somebody praising SummerSlam. Becky Lynch, best moment of the night. All right, you had me until the last couple of words there. Becky was not the best part of that show. And Frankie Tubbs, Bianca lost, took me out of SummerSlam. Yeah, there were some things not to like. All right, hey, thank you for all the comments. It's time. It's time for the main event. Michael, I'm going to go. My freezer's on the other side of this door here in one room away. I'm going to go get this ice cream bar. I'm going to bring it back. We're going to eat the CM Punk ice cream bar. So I'll be back.
All right. Yes. Let's do this. All right. I'm going to fill some airtime while Nick goes out, and I do not have the ability to highlight any of these tweets, but good call out here from Tuckgraph. If you let that ice cream bar melt a little longer, you can have a CM Punk shake. I just love some good wordplay. Y'all are fun in the wordplay in the chat room. NXT was best by far. Salve Kappa Ferry out here. Pollo Del Mar co-host from Wink says SummerSlam underwhelmed me. So
okay, all right, I'm back. Thank you, Michael, for filling the time. I wish you had the ability to pull comments on screen. We'll work on that. We'll work on it. Okay, so here is the ice cream bar. You can see it's a CM Punk chocolate-covered vanilla bean ice cream bar. It is a custard-style ice cream infused with Madagascar vanilla bean, dipped in our signature chocolate shell. It is gluten-free. Also, by the way.
Now Dave is saying don't open it. You can sell that for a lot.
Yeah, well, we have here made in Chicago. You know what, guys? I thought about it. I thought about it a long time. I'm doing this. I talked to Liz. And here we go. Just like that, I'm breaking the seal. I'm doing that. We're all doing this together here. We're all going to have the visceral thrill of having a CM Punk iced cream bar. You will live vicariously through me. All right, I'm peeling the packaging. I got to get scissors. I'm going to screw this.
Oh, this is like SummerSlam, the ultimate tease and letdown. It's like we were going to see a women's title match between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair and didn't even happen. Yeah, I'm looking through the eBay listings right now. We have CM Punk wrapper bars going for $33 just for the wrapper, Nick. Somebody's asking $1,000 for an unopened. Now, how do you ship this? You got to like put it in dry ice, I guess. How does that work?
I've opened it up. Oh, it melted a bit in transit. That's obvious at this point. Little melty. That's fine. Okay, let me put my headphones back on so I can do this correctly. Okay. Little melty, still fine. Little melty. We have here, you should title this video from Dave In, Wrestling Mukbang, most views ever. Okay, here we go. I'm keeping the wrapper, everybody. I'm going to put it in a shadow box or something.
There is somebody who's going to make a reaction video to you opening up the ice cream bar, Nick. I'm waiting for it. Somebody's TikTok is going to go viral with a reaction to this moment.
Okay, I'm poking it through the bag. I'm trying to do this delicately. Probably should have opened it from the stick end. Okay.
This is some kind of weird, like somebody's kink in this is like working through.
The wrapper is intact. Now, as you can see, the ice cream melted a bit in transit as I brought it home from the lift. So it is not, you can see the general idea of what it was supposed to be shaped like. And
this is gross. This is sick. You're a sick man, Nick. Look at it fall apart. Oh, he's gonna puke.
Oh, I think this is the earliest I've ever eaten ice cream in my whole life.
This is absolutely disgusting and does a complete disservice to the treat that CM Punk gave all Chicago fans on Friday night.
No, this is really good stuff, everybody.
You got a little in your goatee right there.
I know, it's in my beard.
On your beard right there.
I know.
This is
all right. So, first of all,
yes, Rob Humphrey, is this ASMR?
Yeah. First of all, and I would bring your comments up on screen, but I got custard all over my hands right now. This is really tasty. First of all, this is a really, really good ice cream bar. This custard's delicious.
You can go get ice cream bars from this company outside of CM Punk, though, right? Like, this is a local Chicago place. Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think somebody went and found a pretty cool creamery. I think it's who made the ice cream bar. It's really tasty. It's got like a crunchy chocolate shell.
It is rich custard style ice cream infused with our Madagascar vanilla bean dipped in our signature chocolate shell. Pretty cool.
Oh man, I'm almost done. I'm down to the stick. How much you guys think I could get for the stick on eBay?
Can you get CM Punk to sign it? Can you?
Oh man, I just got custard all over my black pants. Oh,
that's what he said.
Okay. And there it is, everybody. That's the stick. That's all that's left. There's a little chocolate. Maybe there's a little bit of chocolate.
Man, this is probably the grossest thing I've done all day.
If you can see custard dripping down my hand here, I promise you it's custard. All right.
Please, need y'all to take some screenshots of this and have fun. Let's Photoshop the shit out of this moment.
All right. Well, what a way to end the show. I wanted to do something special since so many big things happened, and I really I thought this played well. I think this was worth it. I would not have eaten this. I see it. And the thing that makes me the happiest is that after the show on the media scrum call, Punk said that this was an Andy Kaufman inspired thing because Andy used to give people milk and ice or cookies and milk when they would leave shows, and so this was his ode to Andy Kaufman. And without Andy Kaufman, I wouldn't be here. So That's it. That's all I got here for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Be joined by EJ Cameron. Also on the show, you're going to get the full audio and video if you want to watch it that way from the Triple H media scrum from the tryouts in Vegas. My hands are so sticky right now. I feel gross. I feel gross right now.
And you touch the mouse, and then later on you come back later, and the mouse is sticky, and the keyboard. And you're like, wait, what's going? Ugh.
Yeah. So anyway, Triple H will be on the show tomorrow. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com. We're on all the socials. The Wrestling Inc. podcast is at night, including after Raw here tonight. That's on all your podcast platforms too. And this weekend, funny how this all works out. I'm going to be headed to the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Albany, New York. I'm going to be doing coverage of that. And one of the people being inducted to the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame this weekend, Andy Kaufman. He's going to be going in, and it's the first time Andy's really been put into a Hall of Fame. So I'm very excited or Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. So I'm very excited to be there and cover that. And we'll give you all kinds of coverage this week. Liz watched the mukbang. Liz tuned in and she heard me getting the ice cream and I guess turned the day. Hi, Liz. Hi, my girlfriend, Liz.
Some kind of sick foreplay happening live on the podcast today.
She thought it was amazing.
Yeah, because she loves you.
She also said he's gonna puke.
Like, he's gonna puke.
Right.
Gonna puke.
Anyway,
we're gonna do a spinoff of this show that's a whole separate Wrestling Inc. Shorts channel of just Nick eating stuff and all of us being grossed out by it.
Hey, the Try Guys, I know those guys. They're mukbang experts there. I'll team up with the Try Guys. So, all right. Hey, this was a lot of fun. Did you plug your things or no?
I just follow me. I'm on Twitter at the Real Wiseman. Love you all. Mwah.
All right. Hey, and John Everett here, and bring out a Tony Clifton alter ego. So there's 3 Tonys on AEW. Hey, anything's possible, John. I'm at Nick_Hausman on Twitter. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for staying late. Thank you, Michael, for staying late. This was a huge show. Really appreciate you guys. Talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.